Hey everybody, Jason Burmis here for WeAreChange.org. And we haven't done one of these in a while, but we are live streaming on Facebook and Periscope at the same time. And there are just some stories that are kind of getting lost in the mix with all this tragedy going on and confusion going on in Syria. So we really have to take a step back, look at some of the other news out there. And this story in particular is catching my eye. Satellite surveillance of mosquitoes needed to eradicate malaria, says Bill Gates. And you'll notice right over here above our Dash logo, by the way, Dash has been sponsoring We Are Change and making broadcasts like this one possible. So if you are going to get into crypto, Dash is a great way to start. But that's Prince Charles right there. Yeah, that's right. That's Prince Charles, okay? This is their little eugenicist meeting, because if they wanted to solve the malaria problem, well, they would solve the third world poverty problem that they have there and stop really enslaving their people through that poverty, through warlords, dictatorships, taking over their resources, things like AFRICOM. You know, we could raise these people up. You know, a lot of them don't have malaria. It's only in the poorest of regions, and it's a real health issue. But what's the solution to Bill Gates? Let's release genetically modified mosquitoes. And that's going to somehow, because he's been talking about vaccines in foods, in the water, and, you know, via these mosquitoes, like the craziest things ever. And now to keep an eye on these mosquitoes. So he's already got some kind of crazy, like, Dr. Evil plan going on by releasing these genetically modified mosquitoes out there. In fact, we also reported on a young woman who was in D.C. last week who was speaking out against the release of GMO mosquitoes, found face down floating in a pool in D.C. alone. Not suspicious at all. Not from D.C. area. I believe she was from Florida. If you want the whole story, it's over on the WeAreChange.org Facebook page. Please go check that out. We're posting a lot of great stories. But right here, just unbelievable. I believe this page is also posted there. You want to read it for yourself. But a satellite system, globally, that's going to be able to track, trace, and database mosquitoes. No, everybody, everything it wants to. A global positioning satellite system for Bill Gates, Mr. Eugenicist, somebody we really exposed in Shade the Motion Picture. So if you haven't seen that, please go check that out as well. All right, we are going to move on to the next story, because this one's got a lot of teeth to it too. I don't know how far it's going to go, but it seems like they're going to spin this one way or another to stay in Syria. Suspected 9/11 recruiter for Al-Qaeda, Al-Qaeda, captured in Syria, the Pentagon says. Now, I was reading this yesterday, and apparently it's been the Kurds that captured this guy, and he's named a lot in the 9/11 Commission report. Some of the funding, some of the recruitment, as they said. Now, the only way that this guy, because remember, we have Guantanamo Bay, we took out the terrorists, we went to Afghanistan, we got these guys. Remember, a lot of those people are goat farmers. Literal teenagers that we took in that are now well into their 30s, have never seen the light of day, probably did nothing wrong, was in the wrong place at the wrong time, in the wrong country that we needed to bomb. And this guy's walking free. This guy's walking free in Syria, and he's found in Syria, and the Kurds took him. So again, it's not really clear. It says that he was battling ISIS, but does that mean that he was al-Nusra? The Al-Qaeda affiliate, affiliate, yes, that we fund, that we give weapons to. Is that who it is? So, again, this guy been roaming the streets almost 20 years after 9/11, when we're going on the 18th anniversary coming up, or is it going to be the 17th? 17th anniversary coming up. Over 15 years just hanging out. Now he's been caught. And you know, no matter what, they're going to spin this. So see, they got Al-Qaeda terrorists that caused 9/11 in Syria. We got to stay in there. So I'm watching this story very, very closely. And in all likelihood, this is an intelligence asset for the United States, possibly for Israel, possibly for the United Kingdom, possibly for Pakistan, possibly for Saudi Arabia. But I'll tell you one thing, he's well connected. or we wouldn't be hearing about his capture. That's for sure. And he wouldn't be walking the streets after 9/11. So, next story, somebody actually told the truth on MSNBC, on Morning Joe. You know, Mika, the daughter of Zbigniew Brzezinski, usually toes the line when it comes to war propaganda. Joe, not in this clip. However, really the points that are made and allowed to be put on television are outstanding. And nobody really had a response to this man. So we're going to play some of this because, again, it is just fantastic and people need to see it.
True, but I think we have to step back and not put this in partisan terms. This is a U.S. mistake that started 7 years ago. And I remember the day on your show when President Obama said, Assad must go. And I looked at you and Joe and I said, huh? How's he going to do that? Where's the policy for that?
Right. And
we know they sent in the CIA to overthrow Assad. The CIA and Saudi Arabia together in covert operations tried to overthrow Assad.
All right, so let's stop it there. Right there, okay? He comes out and he says, look, this isn't a new problem. This is something they want to do for a long time and actually started doing now 7 years ago with the Central Intelligence Agency under the Barack Obama administration with our best buddies, Saudi Arabia. New boss, same as the old boss. Old boss still in charge. Okay, this has gone on forever. Bush 1, Clinton, Bush 2, Barack Obama, and now Donnie Trump is Snuggle Buns McGrady with Saudi Arabia. So let's keep going on this one.
Was a disaster. Eventually it brought in both ISIS as a splinter group to the jihadists that went in. It also brought in Russia. So we have been digging deeper and deeper and deeper. What we should do now is get out and not continue to throw missiles, not have a confrontation with Russia. 7 years has been a disaster under Obama, continuing under Trump. This is what I would call the permanent state. This is the CIA, this is Pentagon, wanting to keep Iran and Russia out of Syria, but no way to do that. And so we have made a proxy war in Syria. It's killed 500,000 people, displaced 10 million. And I'll say predictably so, because I predicted it 7 years ago that there was no way to do this and that it would make a complete chaos. So what I would plead to President Trump is get out. Like his instinct told him, by the way. That was his instinct. Right. But then all the establishment, the New York Times, the Washington Post, the Pentagon, everybody said, no, no, that's irresponsible. But his instinct is right. Get out. We've done enough damage, 7 years. And now we really risk a confrontation with Russia that is extraordinarily dangerous.
So there it is. We risk an extraordinarily dangerous confrontation with Russia. This guy's killing it here. Killing it. Murdering it. Telling it like it is. His instincts were right. We need to get out. Correct? Correct? Let's go back to this gentleman.
Reckless. I don't think it's attractive, but I think we have to understand how this happened. This happened because of us. These 600,000 are not just incidental. We started a war to overthrow a regime. It was covert. It was Timber Sycamore. People can look it up. The CIA operation, together with Saudi Arabia. Still it's shrouded in secrecy, which is part of the problem in our country.
Timber Sycamore, still shrouded in secrecy. This guy is dropping truth bombs, telling you what the covert Obama CIA program was to go into Syria with no oversight whatsoever, no congressional approval, no big speeches on the news of fire and fury and precision. but a covert war nobody signed on for. And he's like, we need to get out. We're going to go right back to him.
Major war effort, shrouded in secrecy, never debated by Congress, never explained to the American people, signed by President Obama, never explained. And this created chaos. And so just throwing more missiles in right now is not a response.
My only concern...
We need to go, it's, by the way, not to walk away, to go to the UN Security Council, as the Admiral says, to agree with Russia on a strategy for ending the fight. But ending the fight means that we stop trying to overthrow a government, that we stop trying to support rebels who are committed to overthrowing the government. That is where this war continues, because we, to this day, back rebels that are trying to overthrow a government contrary to international law, contrary to the UN Charter, contrary to common sense, contrary to practical path. We can't do it. And
boom! There it goes. He's telling you to this day, we're supporting the quote-unquote rebels. Al-Qaeda. Props to this guy right here. And, you know, he's been a long-time contributor over there. And again, he talked about it way back in the day on that very channel, on that very network, on that very show. And, you know, we got the whole thing over at the wearechange.org Facebook page. Please go check that out. Now, I want to move on really quickly just to this story about the Parkland shooting. It's coming out that Nicholas Cruz, when he was taken in, he threw up. He could barely stand after, you know, really almost no incident. Now, obviously, I've done the documentary, Parkland Code Red. I encourage everybody to go check that out. It's only available on DTube, working on a revision, a second edition, if you will, with all the new information that's come to light, including this one. So we've talked about how he was ROTC. We've also talked about how the tapes that came out after I put that documentary out said the shooter was in the parking lot in an ROTC uniform. It's also put into this article that he was wearing a JROTC hat, and he fit the description. So, you know, I'm not sold that you know, he wasn't involved in this. I very much believe that he was involved in this. I think there are a lot of unanswered questions, but, you know, to all those people about crisis actors and nobody died and this is all a hoax, no, that's not it at all. This goes very deep, and it also talks about, and, you know, there's video, but apparently the person that came and identified him as the shooter, that's when he vomited. And I've got to wonder if it was the student who I feature in the film that basically said he saw Cruz reloading his weapon when he was in the hallway. That's who I would assume it was. However, maybe it was somebody else. I'm not quite sure. Keeping our eye on this story and anything Parkland related. So now we got a very bizarre story here, okay? Website called MuckRock.com. Gets a lot of FOIAs, and it was trying to get some records on, I believe it was some kind of, what was it, a fusion center project? Well, let's just read it. When you send thousands of FOIA requests, you are bound to get some weird responses from time to time, and that's what these people do. Recently, we here at MuckRock had one of the most bizarre gets yet. Washington State Fusion Center's accidental release of records on the effects of remote mind control. Okay, and there's one of the documents, but we're going to scroll right through. This is what they sent them. Okay, and you know, I know there's a lot of stuff out there about targeted individuals and that sort of thing, and we know that we can't trust our government. We know their technology is far beyond. It's very possible that some kind of technology like this exists. However, when you look at this, these are tagged with things called Raven1.net. MuckRock itself does not believe that they're real. It's just very bizarre that they came in a load that was unrelated. And I almost feel like this is some kind of a disinfo program to try to create hysteria. See, I told you, they accidentally leaked the targeted individual documents. But again, there's a website right underneath. These don't seem to be legitimate at all. So why did they go there? Were they purposely put in there? Was it a mistake? It seems hard to believe it was that big of a mistake that somebody, you know, at one of these places was just like, I don't know, just couldn't figure it out and put the wrong files in. I mean, these are FOIA requests. I've never heard of anything like this ever. And the bizarre level of what these things are, you go check them out yourself. But again, it seems like a disinfo campaign to me. Folks, that's just a bizarre story. And sometimes we like to leave it on the end of kind of upbeat, a little bizarre, a little more lighthearted, because we are talking about some pretty heavy stuff. We're talking about GMO mosquitoes. We're talking about a global surveillance system put out there by Bill Gates to watch these mosquitoes. Yeah, right. 9/11 suspects being captured in Syria with the Kurds. The truth about Syria being talked about on MSNBC, Parkland, heavy stuff. So, check everything out. Everything I talk about is mainstream media. You can get your hands on it. And guys, this program is really only made possible by you guys out there. And now this cryptocurrency right here, Dash. If you don't know what Dash Digital Cash is, it started out, I believe, as Xcoin and then Darkcoin, and now it is Dashcoin. And it is supporting organizations like this one, letting me do my thing, allowing Luke Rudowski to travel the world. There's a great report about Nikola Tesla over on the main channel right now. And this Sunday, Luke and I are going to be going live. We're going to be giving out $500 in Dash Digital Cash once again. And we're going to be announcing a way for one of you guys out there that wants to make a difference to get $1,000 in Dash Digital Cash to do something good, be the change you want to see in the world. And with that, folks, I am going to bid you adieu. Thank you all for tuning in. We'll see you later.